Buenos días. Yo debería hacer lo que hicieron mis predecesores y hablar en español. But I have no idea how to speak about technology in Spanish yet. So I'm going to do my best to do it in English, which is kind of a complex topic when you have a Spaniard born in Spain, lived in Mexico over 26 years, moved to Miami, then moved to Singapore, learned Japanese, go back to Miami, then go back to Singapore. Obviously, I realized that I forgot all the Japanese that I thought I knew, and then try to speak English today. But it's a great honor to be here. I have told you, so in addition to loving the opportunity to actually interact with all of you, it's a great opportunity to see my friends, because as I said, I was based in Miami for many, many years. So the topic is simple. It's Gen AI. It's about technology. It's about transformation. It's about innovation. So what I'm going to do is first try to answer Andres' question this morning. Give me one word that in your view makes a difference in being successful in Gen AI, in a way to transform everything we do. In my word would be leadership. Leadership is what makes things happen. We've heard a lot about culture. We've heard a lot about people. And that's what I'm going to be trying to talk of. I believe Shu said something like this. If LATAM is able to use technology to build, then XYZ. To the best of my knowledge, LATAM is this room. Here, we have the key owners of key companies that everybody follows. Here we have some of the most successful startups that grew to become major digital native companies that I can tell you in Asia, a lot of people follow. Here you have some of the most important legacy companies in terms of many, many years, I think they call it centennials, that actually made a big difference. So it's not about LATAM building. It's about this room, all of us building using the technology to make something happen. And that's what I'm going to do my best to share with you today. There are three topics that I would like to remember, then I will add a fourth one. Yes, we are in this very historic tipping point where AI will transform everything we do. The way we work, the way we build, the way we live, the way we actually envision the future. It is the fact that technology will enable that future and that transformation. The second topic that for me is critical is true transformation. It's not only about technology. Technology is only the enabler. Because guess what? Technology is going to be changing. It's going to be progressing. I believe it was Percy that said something like, technology is going to grow. We're not going to build the bank just in the word of technology today. It's the culture that matters. That's Amazon's view on the topic. Technology, transformation requires a lot more than technology. It is about culture, talent, the skills, and an innovation mindset. And the other one, the journey has already begun, but it's very early in the journey. We don't know exactly how this is going to evolve, but I can tell it's going to move very fast, it's going to move very secure, and it's going to enable a major, major, major transformation. And I'm going to add a fourth one, because after being like the fifth or sixth speaker, after all of these great people in front of me said, what is the new idea that I would throw to the table in addition to these three, that guess what, I'm sure all of you already heard before. And the only thing that I would say is a hypothesis that says Gen AI is the technology that exponentiates, and I hope that word exists, exponencia en español, leadership. Because it's what can take leadership to a new level. It's what can really transform the way, the speed, the innovation that we drive in our companies. Because leadership, in my view, is the pillar that will allow, enabled by technology, the difference that we're really looking to make. And that is what we should be talking, and what I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to share in this view that hopefully, A, it seeds an idea, or B, drives communication, because we have a whole day to talk about what happened, and we're going to learn from each other. That's the beauty of this council. So I would invite you to think about leadership and everything that we're going to be talking about. Jaime, are you really going to show another slide that says that industrial revolution, internet, and AI is the next one? Yes, I have to. But I'm going to bring a different view on the topic. The important is, in our view, the speed of worldwide adoption. Let me give you one example. When the internet started, in our view, there are two topics that actually accelerated adoption of the internet. One, Netscape. Anyone remembers Netscape? Used to be a browser before Explorer. That is when actually consumers started to use technology. And the second was, very important, the topic, something called Java. Java is what allowed technology to develop new applications that's transforming the internet. Guess what? It was invented in 1995. The company was Sun Microsystems. I was in Sun Microsystems in 1995, and I had no idea that Java was going to transform the whole thing the way it did. Because it's like Gen AI today, it's going to grow, it's going to transform, and it's going to really build in the way we use the technology based on dreams, imagination, and the capacity to take risks and innovate. So that's important of industrial internet and HOV because it's exactly the same. But the most important thing is AI is adopted worldwide immediately. And that is super important. I can tell you the level of frustration. I was in Sun. I was a country leader in Mexico at the time. Technology would take years before it got to Mexico. But today, it reaches immediately. It democratizes access, democratizes opportunity. But I was with the CEO of Techcombank 2 weeks ago in Vietnam. Techcombank is one of the largest banks in Vietnam. And he said the following: it democratizes services. Why? Because that bank, using Gen AI, could provide mortgages to 75,000 customers that would have never received a mortgage because it connected dots that humans were not able to connect before. That's what it is about. It's democratizing access, opportunity to companies, but also to consumers, because it allowed a lot more opportunity. Now, Jaime, what about some examples? Well, obviously, I need to talk about Amazon. And the most important about Amazon is it's really about productivity transformation. In fact, I had the opportunity to talk to several CEOs all the time. When they bring the topic of Gen AI, the first question is, what do you want to do with it? What do you want to do with the Gen AI? And the first answer I get is speed, transformation, productivity, innovation, growth, everything anchored by customer experience. In this case, it's really about productivity. When you think that just by using Gen AI, you save 4,500 developers years saved in a very narrow project, you can imagine the opportunity that you have across the company. And 260 million of efficiency gains. So again, it's just examples when you start to use the technology. Mercado Libre, which, by the way, congratulations, I understand they're awarded today. And Mercado Libre, that has been for many years a customer of ours, I can tell you they understand that it's about customer experience. We always say everything you do in Gen AI, work backwards from the customer. If we don't transform the customer experience, I think we're really missing a huge opportunity. And the example of Gen AI is how do they use ads in order to improve access for consumers like us to the SMB companies that are working with Mercado Libre. Again, it's really driving opportunity, access, but in this case, leveraging the ad technology in order to make that difference. And I can give you many, many, many other examples. Now, this morning, during the first panel, they were talking about startups, innovation, Latin America, Asia, Europe. All I can tell you is, in Asia, Latin American companies are super respected. When I moved to Singapore 3 years ago, after 7 years having the opportunity to establish AWS in Latin America, I went to Indonesia, I went to Thailand, because I had a walk around and I said, I come from Latin America, I've been 7 years in the company. You would be shocked that several banks and fintechs, the first thing that said is, are you working with Nubank? So they are present. Coupang, you can call it the Mercado Libre in Korea, is actually trying to connect with Mercado Libre because they want to learn about the innovation. Startups, the interesting thing about startups is out of the 80 startups that were selected for something we call the Gen AI Accelerator Program in AWS, 22 come from Latin America. And the process is super strict. It's not that you make the decision based on friendships, because that means over close to 1 million or up to 1 million in credit to launch your startup without asking any equity. So there's a lot of opportunity and ideas across Latin America. What ideas never stop. So let me give you the opportunity of flying to Miami and landing the day before yesterday. 3 a.m., I was really awake. And I got this lovely email from our team in Indonesia, said the following: Jaime, we just broke the Guinness Worldwide Record in a hackathon developing new ideas in one day. 10,800 and adding. What's the important thing of this? All these ideas, all these projects were delivered by children, youth, 17, 18-year-old in 11th and 12th grade. Ideas are endless. Opportunity is there for us to grab. Obviously, the first thing that I told the team here is I'm making sure that we replicate whatever we did in Indonesia so we have the same opportunity in Latin America. Because I can tell you, we can learn a lot from each other, understanding there are very significant cultural differences. But that is what today is about. It's about using technology to do all the great things that nobody wants to do. Like in coding is all the documentation, all the testing, all that, and really use the technology for that, and let human beings actually think about how they connect customer needs into meaningful solutions. So that's really what I wanted to talk about. Now, Jaime, are we really using AI in Latin America? 80% of the companies are today deploying Gen AI solutions, are using it. 80%. 67% of the companies are using agentic AI. And I'm going to explain what that means. And $749 billion economic by 2038. I have to tell you, I have no idea how they calculated that. But what I do know is going to be bigger than that. I'm going to leave it there. There's so much that is happening. Now, the topic of how are the companies using the technology is very different. 3% of that 80% is using Gen AI to transform their processes. So 3%. All the rest is mostly automation of existing processes. That is where leadership comes to play. This is how working backwards from the customer matters. And that's why today I'm going to talk a lot about that. I think I skipped one. To give you an idea on investments, 1.5 trillion is going to be invested in global AI spending, 6.7 trillion in data centers, 6.7 trillion by 2030. Now, when you think of investment, don't think of the investments of the future, think of the investments of the past. What allowed us to be here? Something called the cloud. Security of data, scalability, mission critical. And a lot of those investments that were billionaire in the past actually going to use investments in the future to accelerate from what they call on-premise to the cloud, because there's no Gen AI in our view without the cloud, because that's what allows us to move very fast in information. Jaime, is AWS investing in Latin America at a very high level, and this is not a commercial. 10 billion were announced this year. Mexico, Chile, Brazil, 600 plus renewable energy projects, 2.3 million people upskilled. By the way, it's about the people, it's about the skills, and it's about how we use them. In my view, as I said, the journey to the cloud is a cultural transformation enabled by technology. But there's no AWS presentation without a technology slide. So I invite you to join me in the journey of a technology slide. And somebody said before, reduce complexity and make it simple. I'm going to make it simple. Technology will only enable. Let your team that knows technology and understand technology, let companies like AWS partner with you. In my view, you should focus in making sure that the culture in your company drives that. Customer obsession, high velocity decision making, experimentation and really think big and long term. That's the opportunity we have in our hands. And for that, we need the best team that is empowered by using technology to make decisions. So as leaders, there are two or three things that matter. Hire the best people but in a way that is different to the past. In the past, it was about knowledge, specialization, and experience. I would say today it's about learning agility, resiliency, boldness to innovate and experiment, frustration management, an extremely strong value system, and the capacity to learn from the past. Because mistakes are going to happen, but that will allow your organization to move very fast. High decision making is super simple. Let the people in front of the customers decide in ways that obviously does not put your company at risk, but in ways that technology allows you to empower them in a way that allows better service. And by the way, keep yourself as CEOs to make all the tough decisions probably you don't want to empower, like billions of dollars investment in a country, in a market, or a bigger strategic decision as we heard this morning. Experimentation and innovation, I would tell you it's about being successful, but also failing. We actually like to recognize failure. We learn from it. Now, Jaime, doesn't that make your organization make sure that everybody likes to fail? That's exactly what we don't do, because we make sure that we don't repeat those failures. That's why I said the capacity to learn. If you don't have the capacity, probably we're not going to get very far. And think big long term. All I'm saying is we're really talking about building a better Latin America, as it was said this morning. We really need to think big. And whatever we do, 10x, 20x, whatever the number you want to think, that's why you're the CEOs. You're the ones that are think big here. I will tell you that's the opportunity we have in our hand. There's no Amazon presentation without a quote from Jeff Bezos, but I would say the most important thing is customer obsession, agility, have the best people, innovate and experiment is what we call day one. If you don't try that, very soon we're going to be falling behind. Leadership. I said that was the most important day. I will tell you, move forward with a bold vision and purpose. This morning, most of the presenters talk about purpose and talk about culture. That's exactly what we're talking about. Being bold means taking risks, not always with all the information at hand, but the observations that tell us that our customers are looking forward to that. Create a culture of fearless innovation. And that includes experimenting, that includes failing, but learning and continuous iteration. That's, in our view, what technology is about. And then foster a builder mindset. I think it was Shu that talked about building. That's exactly what we need to do. Get yourself surrounded by the best builders, because everything is really to be built in this world where everything is going to be transformed. I'm going to finish with 6 observations. This came out from a session with McKinsey, that I understand there's several of you from McKinsey here. This was a session in Singapore, and we had people, senior partners from McKinsey, China, Singapore, Southeast Asia, and we had a number of customers from all over the region. These were the learnings that I learned from that session, and I'm just sharing them with you. Hopefully, I've been able to transmit all of this already. Focus on transformation, not just automation. Work backwards from the customers. Leaders lead by example. One of the biggest learning from that session, by the way, was shared by a Latin American Chilean that is the CTO of the largest bank in Australia, said, as a leader, I want the CEO of the company, their direct reports, to use that technology to build, so we understand what it means. That's the meaning of being a builder. I can tell you I have no idea how it's going to turn out. In 2 weeks, we have myself and the team going to build something with all the available tools that are in GenAI today, and I can tell you it's going to be a remarkable experiment. And I know that whatever happens, either we succeed or we fail, we're going to have a remarkable time and we're going to learn a lot from the experience. It's about learning opportunity. Build and develop the right teams. Please invest in your team. Let them play. Hire builders. As we said, learning agility is key. Resiliency, a strong value system. But if you hire builders, let them build. The closer to the customer, the more successful you're going to be. Obviously, work with the right technology partner. And I can tell you, that's all I'm going to say. AWS has many, many, many years of experience, and we're investing billions and billions of dollars in Latin America. And we are really looking to help, not only from the technology point of view, but also from the culture, business, and people view. Lastly, and I love this one, start with your risk department first. Get them to play with the technology. So they realize everything that is done in order to keep your data secure, everything that we're doing to protect in the terms of guardrails and how that technology is used and how it's done to localize it. And I'm just going to share a small example with my wife. My son likes to drive go-karts, real fast go-karts. He used to compete. But before she gave me any approval, and you know that women make all the decisions in our lives, before she gave me the approval, she said, I want to drive the go-kart first. The real one, the competitive one, the one that my son is going to be driving every week when he competes. Start with your risk department first, because that will allow them to see how the technology operates. So with that, I started talking about leadership. I think we have this great opportunity of building a major future, and it's an opportunity for visionary leadership. The age of AI, when we talk about AI, really demands leaders that can create an environment where innovation flourishes. And I have to tell you, many years from now, the same way that not everybody knew what Netscape was, we will not talk about the technology. We will not talk about the models. We will not talk about everything that we're going from a technology perspective that is moving super fast. All we're going to remember is the visionary leaders that understood the opportunity, that realized that it was about culture, people, and innovation, about taking risks, thinking big, and making sure that we build a much better Latin America together. Because what I can tell you, being in the other side of the world, Latin America has a huge opportunity to transform the global position in the world and how we do everything. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present the Bravo Leadership Conversation, Shaping the Future of Finance Through Innovation. Please welcome to the stage